Hello everybody and welcome to the ASUS North America YouTube channel. This is JJ once again. For you guys that have been checking out the channel, you guys have seen that there's been a lot of new content coming out, a lot of it covering specifically Z87, but you guys have also seen some content relative to new GPUs. We recently covered our brand new ASUS GeForce GTX 770 DirectCU II graphics card. That was an ultra high-end card, really targeted at you guys that are interested in the highest level of ultra HD gaming. And now this time around, we're actually going to be talking an entirely new GPU once again, but this is going to be the new NVIDIA GeForce GTX 760. So this is targeted a bit more in terms of that high-end mid-range focus, where you guys are still looking for ultra high-end gaming capability in terms of the performance and image qualities that the card can run at, but while bringing down that price band and allowing it to be quite a bit more accessible to the rest of the marketplace. So as always, we're going to be covering a lot about what we're doing on our non-reference designs in terms of making the card cooler, quieter, and perform faster than reference-based solutions. And we're going to be talking about the power topology, the layout of the card, and a lot of the unique characteristics of what we're doing on our ASUS NVIDIA GeForce GTX 760 graphics card. As well as we'll go ahead and be lightly covering architecture and some of the new design aspects in terms of what makes this card different than previous generations and how it stacks up against previous generations. And like always, a little bit in terms of what comes included with the graphics card itself. So first off, let's go ahead and give you a little bit of perspective and compare the brand new GeForce GTX 760 to some of the previous generation cards and give you some insight into the architecture. Okay guys, so like we talked about, this is an entirely brand new GPU. So this is a new GPU that sits in terms of the NVIDIA's product landscape that's pretty straightforward. On the top end, if we consider, we have the GeForce GTX Titan. Right below that, we have the recently introduced GeForce GTX 780. Then we have the GeForce GTX 770. And now we have the GeForce GTX 760. So this is a card that's really squarely pegged at the high-end but mid-range based category. You're looking at about a $310 graphics card. So it's considerably under the price band that you're going to have with the 770 and the 780, with the 770 being still about $100 more expensive. But when you take a look at the performance architecture, it's still quite solid. We're taking a look at approximately a little bit over 1100 CUDA cores on the unit. We have 6 SMX instruction sets, and then on top of that, we're going to have 6 gigahertz enabled memory. Now, our graphics card is actually going to be overclocked, and because of its optimal cooling and power delivery design, we're going to be boosting and clocking higher than the reference-based solution. So we're going to even be giving you better than reference-based performance. So if you're taking a look at any reviews that show you performance that you're happy with on the GeForce GTX 760, it's going to even be better on our graphics card. When you factor that kind of all together, this card features improvements such as the GPU boost technology, which allow it to boost more consistently based on temperature as opposed to the previous generation where it was power target based. You're going to consistently also get higher clocks on this card versus previous generation. And lastly, if we kind of take into consideration where this sits in relation to what you might have if you're running an older generation NVIDIA graphics card, then you're going to be looking at pretty big performance increases. If we take a look right here and we go to pretty much the two most popular GPUs that are right now out there for the majority of guys that are submitting information to the Steam hardware survey, we can see the GTX 560 is right now pretty much the most popular GPU on the Steam hardware survey, and you'd be looking at about 2x the performance. And that's not to even factor in things like power efficiency and technological feature sets that just are not available to you on the GeForce GTX 560 graphics card. So very impressive that you're going to get a huge upgrade in performance. When you consider then jumping all the way back to something like a 200 series based GPU, like a 260 or 275, 285, you're talking about performance upgrades of almost 3x. And once again, you're not even counting all the evolutionary feature sets as well as revolutionary feature sets that you're going to have on the GPU. And these things are going to really come down to the in-game gameplay experience that you have, whether they're advanced features like DirectX 11, tessellation, ambient occlusion, TXXA, FXXA, and a huge amount more. So overall, for you guys that are really interested in all the ins and outs, make sure to check out nvidia.com for the latest information on the GeForce GTX 760, as well as the review sites. And for you guys that want more on the performance side, make sure to check out our performance-based video. With that, let's go ahead and take a little bit closer look at our ASUS GeForce GTX 760. Okay guys, first off, we're just going to quickly touch on the accessories. We've gone ahead and already cracked open the box and opened them up for you. Pretty straightforward. We have an 8-pin PCI Express to dual 3-pin PCI Express based power adapter. Always make sure though that you're using a modern generation power supply. I recommend 80 plus base power supplies with a minimum of a 450 watt base power supply for this graphics card and a higher performance system. If you want a little bit more wiggle room, consider something like a 550 watt. With that then there, pretty lean, but pretty straightforward. We of course have the quick setup guide, gives you all the information on how to successfully install the graphics card. Pretty straightforward. And then we have the software setup disk. This includes not only our GPU tweak graphics card utility, which allows you to tweak, tune, and customize all the aspects of your graphics card, including overclocking, voltage, and fan controls, and more, as well as the actual driver to successfully install this. Make sure that you head over though to NVIDIA's website and download the latest GeForce driver along with the GeForce Experience software to get the most out of the graphics card, not only in regards to functionality, but in regards to performance. With that, let's go ahead and actually now take a look at our brand new ASUS GeForce GTX 760 DirectCU II graphics card. Okay guys, now that we've taken a look at the accessories, here you can see that we've got our brand new ASUS GeForce GTX 760 DirectCU II graphics cards. It's an awesome looking card right off the bat. You can see it's actually a little bit smaller in profile than what you would be looking at for our larger base graphics cards like the GTX 770 or the GTX 780 DirectCU II graphics cards, but you still get a huge amount of performance within this compact frame. Now you can see right off the bat, of course, it still is a DC2, meaning that it has 2 fans along with our direct contact copper technology, keeping the card cool and quiet along with those 2 fans that we have installed. Now we're going to be breaking it all down for you in terms of showing the inside to be able to cover the direct power and the SAP power componentry, as well as the overall topology and all the ins and outs for the graphics card. But here we're just giving you a little bit of perspective in terms of what the external part of the card looks like. You can see that we also have this great new ID that gives it a little bit more kind of a slanted, aggressive kind of modern styling. I think it looks great, especially if you're considering pairing this with one of our ROG motherboards. We were showing it off a little bit earlier with our Maximus 6.0. Looks great. So first off, you can take a look here in terms of the front of the graphics card. When we go ahead and pop this actual entire shroud off, we're going to be able to show you the underside and the direct portion of the heatsink assembly that's underneath these fans. But both these fans actually feature our dust-proof fan technology. And one of the great things that we feature with this dust-proof fan technology is improved reliability. So that means that we can stop things like dust, debris, and dander, and other kind of particles that are in the air from getting on the inside of this hub assembly. And when it gets on the inside of the hub assembly, it can impact the rotation ability of this fan blade. And that's something you don't want because, of course, that's going to affect the overall operating lifespan and the functionality of your graphics card. So that's going to be a nice kind of touchstone point that we have here in terms of our non-reference design that is just part of the entire DC2 package in itself. So with that, let's go ahead and actually take a little bit more of a closer look around the entire aspect of the card before we go ahead and break it down and show you some of the inside componentry. Okay guys, so here taking a look at the display output connectivity, we can see that it's pretty robust. Of course, it features all the hallmark connectivity that we'd expect from a modern generation NVIDIA graphics card, meaning that we have 4 digital display outputs and that can actually all be run real time. So that's great flexibility for you guys that need multi-monitor workflow flexibility, whether you're talking about 1 monitor, 2 monitors, 3 monitors, or even 4 monitors, with having that 4th monitor serve as an accessory display. Supports full 3D display output functionality, and even for you guys that are interested in the latest generation of 4K panels, such as our brand new 4K monitor that we've just released to the market, this graphics card will take care of you in terms of outputting every single resolution that you could ask for. So a great deal amount of flexibility. All these are full-size connection points, including a full-size DisplayPort, full-size HDMI, and then 2 full-size DVI with the DVI supporting dual link. So a huge amount of flexibility that you have here in terms of your display out connectivity. Next up, we're going to go ahead and take a look at the back of the card and start to look at some of the non-reference power aspects of what we've done here on our DirectCU II graphics card. Okay guys, so next up, now that we've taken a look at our display output, we want to take a look at the back of the card. Now normally it's not a huge amount to take a look at on the back of a graphics card, but us being ASUS, we're always bringing something special to the table, so we've got a little bit more than what most cards are going to be offering. So first up, we can see right in the center, we've got something that just looks entirely different, and that's going to be our new direct power implementation. So this is a new aspect of the non-reference power delivery componentry that we integrated on our graphics cards with our kind of our pursuit of giving you guys the best performance and the best power delivery that we can integrate deployed onto graphics cards. Really what this actually implementation allows us to do is a couple of things. One is to reduce the temperatures. We can have about approximately 15% lower PCB board temperatures than we would have with reference cards that don't feature direct power. And that's going to be specifically in this section of the board. There's going to be a much lower operating temperature than you would have on a reference series graphics card. And that's great because one thing that people don't realize is that you do have what's called radiative heat dissipation. So any points where there's a large buildup of heat can actually kind of dissipate into your chassis-based environment. And unless you have kind of some active airflow to help to kind of mitigate and push away that buildup of heat in that section, you're kind of creating these hot spots. And so with this direct power technology, we're helped to go ahead and eliminate one of the kind of the most key hot spots that we have on a graphics card, which is directly in the back of the board here. Now what you don't realize is directly underneath this is also the GPU die. So that's actually where our graphics card processing chip is. So where all that real work is happening is on the other side of the PCB board. And so that's a corresponding point to really create a lot of heat. So anything that we can do to minimize that is going to be positive. Now in that same respect, moving away from temperature, the other big area that we improve upon is overall power quality. So the actually ability to go ahead and have cleaner and more efficient power delivery with significantly lower impedance is achieved through the utilization of this direct power implementation. If you want to think about it, what we've essentially done is created almost like a bridge dedicated highway to allow for the actual current to travel that much more efficiently as opposed to being channeled through on a layer that would be through the entire PCB board, where it would have to traverse along with a lot of other signals and be impacted. So essentially here we've kind of given a dedicated space for that to be able to travel through much more effectively and much more efficiently, helping to improve our overall power delivery capability. And tied in with that, of course, we can see here that we have our favorite pause caps, or what we refer to as our SAP caps. These are in a classic back-to-back configuration, so they're behind the GPU itself, providing an immediate high level of capacitance to provide power to that GPU. So when that GPU boost is dynamically clocking up that frequency, or when we're overclocking that graphics card, bam, it can go ahead and tap that guy for additional power to go ahead and ensure better stability and overall better overclockability. So you can see that with those combination two items, we're really giving you guys a great baseline in terms of the power componentry and the power delivery capability of the graphics card. So with that, let's actually go ahead and take this card apart very quickly, because there's literally only 4 screws holding this heatsink and PCB board together, so it makes it really easy to go ahead and crack open and take a look at the inside of the PCB board. Okay guys, so we've disassembled our actual GTX 760 DirectCU II graphics card, and you can see we've actually done it very easily. There's really only 4 screws that affix this heatsink assembly, and then 2 screws for the MOSFET VRM heatsink. So if we just kind of break it down into stages, first up, of course, here we have the actual fan assembly and the shroud itself. So this, of course, gives us the aggressive red and black heatsink styling, and then carries our 2 dust-proof base fans. And these, you know, keep in mind that not only are they going to add for additional reliability because of their dust-proof fan design, but we've also carefully tuned the actual fan curve here to really allow for almost a near silent level of operation. So you really get not only great cooling, but with an attention to detail to ensure that your gaming experience isn't compromised in terms of having a loud card. So you really get that great balance of having a cool and quiet experience. So that's going to be the first part of our DirectCU II fan design. So next up here, you can see that we have a real star of the show when it comes to the overall dissipation abilities. So here we have a high-performance aluminum and copper-based heatsink. So of course we have this high-performance multi-finned dissipation array here. So this is what helps us to go ahead and take all that heat that we're conducting away from the GPU die itself, and then flowing it through this entire finned assembly, which is then being cooled by our 2 fans, really giving us this great level of cooling performance even when overclocked. You know, if we take a look over here, we can see that we have, of course, these high performance heat pipes here that are nickel plated, and that's to go ahead and minimize on any type of oxidation. Not only keeps them looking great, but helps to ensure their best long-term performance. Now if we go ahead and we flip this guy around, we can continue to see really the performance characteristics of this heatsink, where we have that direct contact copper technology, which really allows us to have ultra fast conduction between the GPU die and then the heatsink base itself, and that allows that to go ahead and really effectively be pulled in to the center, to the heat pipes, and then go out to the entire heatsink assembly, really giving us these really cool levels of of temperatures. In my testing, keep in mind, we'll cover this more in the performance-based testing, but even when overclocked on this graphics card, I wasn't breaking over 66C, and that was, I think, at probably about 1.2 gigahertz. So a really aggressive level of overclocking and performance capability of the card, but still while keeping a really cool level of performance. And the great thing that I love too is it really only 4 screws to be able to go ahead and service this if you want to go ahead and apply your own thermal compound, or just be able to take apart the card, and be able to serve it in terms of just blowing it out and making sure there's nothing settled inside of the heatsink assembly. So overall, a really nice high performance heatsink assembly, which also helps you guys understand what we mean when we talk about DirectCU in terms of that direct contact copper technology. Next up is we have a real big point while it's actually small. And this is going to be a really nice addition that you don't normally see in non-reference cards. A lot of companies, when you really kind of keep cutting the card apart, you're going to see that they really cut corners to be able to bring you a product in the market space, and that's one of the things that we don't do. We really want to give you a high quality product across the entire design, and this is actually going to be it's just a basic heatsink, but it's a high performance heatsink that goes directly over the hottest part outside of the GPU of the graphics card, and that's going to be the actual MOSFET array. And this is going to just be critical in terms of helping to ensure the best stability as well as the best overclockability, with the MOSFETs being the hottest running parts. So it's just a nice little touch for you to know that not only do you have this ultra high performance heatsink assembly which helps to pull away the heat from the GPU, these 2 fans which cool everything and then cool the board and the memory and everything else, but then we also have this nice MOSFET heatsink assembly here. Now lastly, when we go ahead and take a look at our graphics card, while you can see that it's definitely small in form, we haven't gone ahead and dictated that in terms of compromising on the component quality. We've still stepped up and given you an ultra high performance non-reference based design. So this is fully featuring our super alloy power componentry, and what that essentially means is that we have 3 components that we've gone ahead and implemented on here to give you guys overall the best in terms of quality, performance, reliability, efficiency, and overclockability. And that's going to be these components here which define the VRM, or the voltage regulation section. So first up, of course, we have these capacitors, and these capacitors are our super alloy capacitors, and they're rated actually for 5K operation. If you guys can see it, it says FP5K. That means these caps are rated for actually 5,000 hours at the highest level of their temperature operation. In comparison to reference cards, this is generally going to be over 2.5 times. Most competitors and reference cards only use 2K rated capacitors. So this is a significant improvement in terms of the overall operating lifespan, helping to give you guys a better quality card. Next up is you can see this little section right here, which is normally covered by this MOSFET heatsink. But we've gone ahead and removed that to allow you to see these ultra high performance super alloyed MOS. Now these are ultra small MOSFETs that are a lot more efficient, and they have significantly lower operating temperatures as well as improved voltage output capabilities, and this helps to go overall, once again, extend the performance characteristics of the VRM, improving stability, improving efficiency, temperature performance, and overclockability. Next up, of course, we have our inductors, which helps to provide a large amount of the power that the card needs in itself, especially when it's pushing and it's ratcheting up in terms of clock frequencies, GPU boost, and overclocking. These are fully sealed molded inductors. They use a special alloy-based formula to go ahead and be fully sealed, as opposed to other inductors which, while they might look sealed, they're actually hollow on the inside, and this can help to create lower efficiency, worse temperature performance, as well as actually sometimes what's referred to as coil whine. And with our super alloy power chokes, in most situations these are going to be almost near silent in terms of operation to silent in operation, so that's another plus outside of their improved actually technical performance characteristics. So overall, if we recap, we've got the super alloy capacitor, super alloy MOSFET, and then super alloy choke really help to give you guys a strong level of sense that we're really stepping it up in terms of giving you a high degree of power component quality. And from there, even things like the display outputs, all these are fully shielded. We don't have any exposed display outputs. That helps to go ahead and minimize any type of interference getting in there and affecting your image quality, making sure that you have the best, sharpest, clearest, cleanest display outputs for your digital connections. And of course, while we've already covered, if we recap on the back here, we have our direct power and our pause cap based solutions rounding out our entire non-reference power solution implementation. So overall, that helps allow you guys to see that we've done a huge amount here in terms of really giving you a card that not only focuses on cool operation, quiet acoustics, and outstanding power component quality and power delivery, ultimately rounding out a really high performance GPU. So with that, let's go ahead and put this card back together and wrap things up for you guys. Okay guys, so we've given you a little bit of everything in terms of showing you not only what comes included with the graphics card, broken down to you a little bit about the architectural aspects of the new GeForce GTX 760 and how it stacks up against some of the previous generation cards, as well as the current generation 770 card, as well as even things like the Titan. And lastly here, we just want to kind of wrap things up and give you a little bit of a lay of the land if you're going to be considering a graphics card like this. You know, the targeted MSRP is going to be about $310, so that's going to be a little bit higher in terms of the price point, but when you consider that this is really a card that's going to allow you to have a huge increase in performance, especially if you're coming over from an older 200 series or 500 series based GPU. You factor in the power to watt performance ratio. You consider, of course, how cool, how quiet in terms of the operation, and then, of course, just the overall performance capability, and you're really looking at an outstanding card in terms of the value. When you consider you can pretty much take any game that's out there on the marketplace, any of the full modern generation DirectX and 11 titles on there, and be able to have actually a very high level of gaming experience with the highest level of image quality settings, whether it's things like ambient occlusion, tessellation, physics, you know, specialized filters like HDAO, HBAO, and things along those lines. You're going to fully be able to ratchet all those things up and be able to maintain an awesome 1080p gaming experience. And for you guys that are even looking at QHD based resolution gaming, it definitely holds its weight quite well at even 2560 base resolutions in terms of gaming. Now, another factor is for you guys that are looking really kind of for those sweet cards in terms of considering something like an SLI. This is a perfect card to really consider pairing up with one of our SI-enabled motherboards to be able to offer you a huge level of performance increase when pairing two of these together up. You're really getting an awesome level of scaling thanks to the NVIDIA architecture and the drivers that they have in place. And when you factor in also, there's a lot of other supplemental features that are part of these cards that really add a whole nother level of value that you might not have in your current generation cards, such as 3D support, an integrated H.264 encoder that allows you to do advanced real-time hardware-based encoding, which will even at a later date be incorporated with NVIDIA ShadowPlay to allow you to do full real-time gameplay recording while you're in game with having little to no performance impact on your frame rate, to then offering, of course, CUDA support for advanced acceleration and multimedia applications, and even things like full real-time streaming with, you know, products like NVIDIA Shield, where you'll be able to take your games and actually run them off of your GPU, but be able to play them actually on a portable, on a portable product is pretty impressive. So overall, I think, you know, it's a great part. You're getting a huge amount of performance, really great acoustics, really great temperatures. As always, if you guys have any questions, comments, feedback, I'd love to see them here on the page. You can make sure to drop them here in the comment section. I'll do my best to go ahead and get back to you. You can also make sure to go ahead and hit us up at our North American Facebook pages or our North American Twitter pages. If you enjoyed the video, please make sure and subscribe, thumbs up, like the video, so we can keep coming out with this content for you. And make sure to watch the other video that we're going to be releasing for the NVIDIA GeForce GTX 760 that focuses on performance, and that's going to be highlighting things like overclocking, temperatures, and acoustic information for you guys that want to load a little bit more on the nitty and gritty. As always, thanks for watching.